गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे
Good morning. Today we start a series of episodes that aim to give you an understanding of Iyengar Yoga. In this series, we will see fundamental asanas across all categories: standing, sitting poses, forward extensions, back extensions, twists, and finally, restorative poses. The first pose that we will start with is TADASANA. TADASANA is the fundamental pose in the UTTHITA or standing state. TADASANA means a mountain pose. Just like a mountain stands tall and erect, the practitioner also must stand tall, firm and erect in this asana. One must not dismiss TADASANA as an easy pose. In fact, TADASANA is the fundamental pose in all standing asanas. It is so because it's approachable. Everybody can stand, but to stand evenly on two legs, to be able to distribute their weight equally, to execute and understand and experience all instructions, if one can learn how to do it in TADASANA. For example, if the instruction is to push the thighs back, push the femur back, roll the thighs in, raise the chest up, raise the arches of the foot, etc. If a person can do this in TADASANA, which is approachable, to be able to translate it into other upcoming asanas, which may be more complicated, which a person may not be able to hold for a period of time that is as long as TADASANA, then these actions more easily translate into upcoming asanas. Therefore, to practice it in TADASANA, establish it and understand it in TADASANA is very important. Now we will go on and see how to do TADASANA. We are starting with a position where the person is standing casually, just like any normal person would. Here, we start with the feet and toes together. When the feet and toes are together, usually the tendency is to push the weight forward. You take the weight back, as in pulling the thigh back, such that you're positioning the thigh bone, the femur bone, which is inside the thigh, over the heel bone, which exists in the heel pad. So thigh bone over heel bone with the thigh back. Then all the parts of the foot are well spread and placed on the ground such that every part of the foot evenly touches the floor. There is no dominant portion where all the weight is falling. There is no portion which is so loose that no weight is coming on it. All parts of the foot have to touch evenly. From there is the top of the buttock muscle. The top of the buttock muscle originates where the buttock is beginning. This usually starts at the area of the lumbar and sacrum, end of the lumbar, beginning of the sacrum. From the top of the buttock muscle, you push the buttock muscle down. When you push the buttock muscle down, you maintain the grip of the thigh, and that pulling of the buttock muscle down will cause the abdomen to move back towards the spine. Here again, the practitioner is not pulling the abdomen hard, but the adjustment of the buttock muscle causes the abdomen to move back towards the spine. Keeping that, the entire chest should have a splendid big raise from the bottom sternum all the way to the top of the sternum near the notch of the throat. Raising the sternum up, relaxing the throat, you're widening your shoulder from the center collarbone all the way to the side of the shoulder, pushing the shoulder back. As you push the shoulder back, from the back of the shoulder, you lengthen all the muscles and joints all the way towards the fingertip, as if the fingertip was pointing the ground. Raise the chest up, thigh back, buttock muscle down, even weight on all parts of the foot. TADASANA. We are now moving to the next variation in Tadasana, Urdhva Hastasana. In Urdhva Hastasana, maintaining the leg, chest and shoulder position in Tadasana, feet evenly spread, thighs back, abdomen adjusted towards the spine, buttock muscle down, chest up. The practitioner takes the hand out in front of them halfway. When the hands go from the shoulder to the very tip of every finger, the hand is well stretched, chest is raised such that the sternum is above the level of the arm at this position. From there, extending the side of the body. Think of every side rib as if you're counting steps and raising step by step. Every rib must be raised up when the hand moves up to Urdhva Hastasana. When the hand moves up to Urdhva Hastasana, the side of the body should be tall, the sternum should not sink, sternum should also be tall, throat relaxed, arm should be stretching from the outer and inner arm, elbows should be locked, all the way up to the fingertip. You should have energy zipping through the sides of the body to the fingertip. Knees back, thighs back, foot well spread, weight distributed evenly over the leg. In this asana, it is important that the upper arm moves behind the ear. Urdhva Hastasana. Now we are showing the second variation of Tadasana, where from Tadasana we move to Vimanasana. Before starting a variation, the original version Tadasana must be established. A person stands with their thigh back, buttock muscle rolling down, therefore abdomen attached to the spine on its own. When the buttock muscle rolls down, the abdomen has a penetrative attachment towards the spine. Keeping that, you raise the chest up, roll the shoulders back. Keeping this position with the shoulders wide, you take the hand to Vimanasana. When the hand goes to Vimanasana, it is important that just like the hand is wide, the chest also must take a wide frame. From the center of the sternum, you should make sure both sides of the breast moves wide. Also, the sternum, while maintaining its tall axis, should also open. When the sternum opens, the ribcage also must be seen as if it's widening towards the side of the t-shirt and not collapsing in the center. If all of that happens, the arm will move towards the back of the socket. When the arm is in front, there will be a collapse of the chest as you see. If the chest is to open, the arm moves back towards the back of the socket. Maintaining the width of the chest and the lift of the chest, vertical plus horizontal, you will have to make sure rolling the shoulder back and down, the arms are brought back down to Tadasana position. Now we are going to the third variation, Urdhva Baddanguli Asana. Baddanguli Asana, we have to lace the fingers through. For that, a person stands in Tadasana, establishing a proper Tadasana. Always the base pose from which you start is the foundation. That foundation must be strong. Standing in Tadasana, following the principles of the chest, shoulder, buttock muscle and thigh, the person extends the hand out in front. From there, you lace your finger completely through as if finger to finger is absolutely wedged to the root of the finger. From there, you see the elbow tends to dent. You have to lock the elbow in. Locking the elbow in, you have to invert the finger. When you invert the finger, the joint of the wrist must be well opened. The wrist has an upside and a downside. As if you're pushing both sides of the wrist forward, the wrist should be well opened. Opening your wrist, you have to raise your arm up to Urdhva Hastasana, taking your arm well behind the ear. The arm that is up, very many times you overdo from the finger and underdo from the arm. We'll come to that in more detail later, but the wrist side should be projecting and raised crisply upward. The armpit should be opened. The chest should be opened. Buttock muscle down. Abdomen lean towards the spine. Maintaining that, you get your arm to the halfway down position and you invert it. What you have to note is, you have to know which little finger stays down. The next time you do it, you have to undo your hand, interlock such that the other little finger, for him the left was down first, now the right little finger remains down. Inverting it, you have to invert your hand, lock your elbows in and take your arm vastly up. The lift should lift the sides of the body, it should lift the center of the chest, the arm goes behind the ear and you have to lift the joint of the wrist up. The thumbs should touch as if it's connecting a circuit. You have to lift from the wrist side up. Slowly the arm comes back down to front position. You reverse the interlock. Stay in that position with the chest lifted and then release your hand down. When the hand comes down, collarbone is wide, shoulder goes back, and from the back of the arm, you have to lengthen to Tadasana. Now we are presenting a variation of Tadasana again, which is Tadasana in the lying down position. Lying down Tadasana, SUPTA Tadasana. We are starting from the way a person would commonly sit with a stoop with a sink of the chest. To start with, you'll have to nicely lift the sternum up, roll the shoulders back until the lift of the chest and roll of the shoulder back causes the back ribs to come inside with a projection of the shoulders back. Shoulder back, back ribs in. You must watch that here also you feel that the abdomen is with the spine. You're not going to project the abdomen forward. Keeping the roll of the shoulders back and sharp lift of the sternum up, the person goes to lying down position. And during the lying down position, it's pertinent to see. To explain the position, I'll ask the practitioner to extend the right and left leg. Generally, in this position, you see that there is this vast gap at the lumbar spine. This shows that even when the person is resting, this part of the lumbar spine still pops up. It doesn't rest. That must be rested for the health of the spine, for which the person must bend their leg one after the other. Roll the buttock muscle towards the floor. The buttock muscle, which was lifting up, must be pushed towards the floor. The abdomen rests on the spine. We explain this in Tadasana, but it's something which can be noticeably seen. Right now, when I push my hand through, there is no gap, which means we have rested the spine. In this position, pressing the heel, he must raise his hip up, insert his hand underneath where we talk about the top buttock muscle. He has to place his hand at the top of the buttock muscle and sharply push the buttock down until the side body, spine lengthens and the spine is clearly placed on the ground. Only after the buttock is placed must he release the right and left hand, crisply maintaining the push or the integration of the back with the floor, of the lumbar with the floor. You have to slowly release the right leg along the ground and the left leg along the ground such that the lumbar does not pop up. In this Tadasana, upon reaching the final Tadasana, there should be no space between the back and the ground. The abdomen should neatly and gently fall on top of the spine. The edges of the shoulders should touch the floor. Heel should be sharply extended and the thighs should be crisply gripped down towards the floor, sternum tall. This is to explain the fact that it is important to keep the buttock muscle down so that the length of the spine and the curve of the spine can be adjusted. We mentioned a Supta Tadasana variation where we had to lift the buttock up and push the buttock down using our hands. But another variation is doing it against the wall using a mat. In this position, once again, we have the heel pressed against the base hinge, base joint of a wall. keeping the foot on the wall itself, but the feet have to be at ground level. The legs are hip width apart, which means as wide my hips are, so wide my feet are. Keeping that, we have to first establish a chest position, shoulder position. We raise the chest up, roll the shoulders back, further raise the bottom sternum up, and we recline in that position with the chest raised such that the shoulder touches the floor. In this position, we have to make sure that the leg is at a half full length distance from the wall. Hands will lightly hold the mats on the side. It's not a strong hold, it's a light hold. Then pushing off the wall, if I'm able to push without loosening either my shoulder or my hip, when I push myself straight, I'm in a capacity to get my thighs completely down, at the same time ensuring that my lumbar spine fully touches the ground, at the same time ensuring that the tips of my shoulder touches the ground, where I'm able to have the length of my neck, rest of my lumbar spine, traction down of my buttock muscle, and a crisp grip at the thigh. This lends a TADASAN, SUPTA TADASAN position even in cases when a person is not able to lift the hip and push the buttock down with their hands. SUPTA TADASAN traction method. Now we'll be doing UTTHITA PADASANA. UTTHITA PADASANA is where you jump from TADASANA to move into a standing pose, which means it is a transition phase. It is a very important transition because one, it creates a lot of activity. It creates an high energy state where from TADASAN, you're jumping with your legs apart to UTTHITA PADASANA. It is a critical leading point towards any standing pose that you would do later on, be it Trikonasana, Veerabhadrasana 1, Veerabhadrasana 2, etc. We'll start. First, we will show how the asanas before were linked. In this position, you start from TADASAN, shoulders rolling back, thigh back, chest up, buttock release down. Then you take your hand in front of your chest in a bent position. In this position, your elbows are slightly up because the upping of the elbows raises the side of the body. From the elbow up position, you take your hand straight up to the Urdhva Hastasana position and then spread your hand side in Vimanasana. Here, your hands go down after that. Here, with the hands in front position, the side body is raised. Hands in front, side body is raised. In the position, when you take your hands up to Urdhva Hastasana, the vertical raise further continues. Then when you take your hand in Vimanasana, the horizontal spreading happens, which means the spine is completely prepared, firm and active for an upcoming standing position. We will start. Take your hands down. Keeping your hands in front of the chest, you have to jump, spread the legs 4 feet apart in UTTHITA PADASANA. When you land, the distance between the two legs should be ideal for a standing pose that you're moving into. The legs are approximately 4 feet apart. Outer edges of the foot should be firmly pressed. Knees and thighs should be back. Back ribs should be engaged. Chest should be up. And the hands are at shoulder level, spreading in Vimanasana. It is important to have the thighs back, outer edges of the feet firm, the arches well lifted, and the entire foot firmly pressed. Finishing with this, you jump back to TADASANA. We'll show you a few quick cycles of this so that you understand how to go about it energetically. Hands in front of the chest, jump, spread apart. Jump, feet together, TADASANA. Hands in front of the chest, jump, legs apart. Jump together, TADASANA. Last, hands in front of the chest, jump apart, legs together, TADASANA. In this manner, you do it a little energetically so that the body gets prepared for an upcoming standing pose. We just mentioned in UTTHITA PADASANA that the hands will be in front of the chest and then you jump and open your legs apart. But there are few conditions such as problems of the knee, hip or ankle where a person or a practitioner is advised not to jump and open their legs apart. In such cases, the practitioner merely steps opening their leg to the side, taking their hand in front, keeping it to the side. Once again, you start by taking your hands in front, opening your legs one by one and extending your hands to the side. Even here, if the legs are weak, you will see that there is no grip on the foot and the leg continues to slip. In order to avoid the slipping of the leg, initially a practitioner can take the support of the wall where you press the outer edge of the foot both down towards the ground and in towards the wall such that the legs build both strength and firmness. Keeping that leg, you walk the other leg away, you get a practice to plant the foot down and kick it against the wall to develop stability of the foot. You may extend a hand towards the wall and the other hand towards the spine so that you know that you're not leaning on one side. You can centralize yourself in comparison to the verticality of the wall. We now saw how to do Tadasana as well as saw 3 of its variations. Right at the onset, Tadasana teaches you how to stand. Though all of us spend so much time standing on an everyday basis, rarely do we pay attention as to how we stand. Many a time, one leg is bent, weight is falling on one leg entirely, there may be a protrusion of the abdomen, a strain on the lower back, and we just continue this way. But because we spend so much time standing, it's only correct to learn how to stand properly. Tadasana teaches you just that. How do we stand in a manner that is healthy and well aligned? And therefore, this cannot be dismissed. It is a very foundational principle that leads to the practice of all upcoming poses. If you're able to do the principles in Tadasana properly, it can seamlessly transfer to the other poses, and hence Tadasana becomes very important. In the classical pose itself, it teaches you how to use both legs properly in the muscles as well as joints, also to keep how the entire length of the spine well stretched, well aligned and lifted. The 3 variations that we saw, Vimanasana, Baddhanguli Asana and Urdhva Hastasana. Urdhva Hastasana teaches you how to stretch the entire length of the spine. Baddhanguli Asana, it also teaches you how to stretch the length of the spine laterally. Laterally is important because we have paired organs such as kidney or lungs, and if we are able to stretch the intercostal muscles and raise the sides of the body, it gives good working space to those laterally paired organs. Also, Baddhanguli Asana helps exercise the appendicular joints, the wrists, fingers, shoulders, etc. These are all properly engaged in Baddhanguli Asana. In Vimanasana, because the hands are spread to the side in a way from the center of the sternum all the way to the sides of the hand, we are trying to stretch the internal lateral space of the body as well as the expansion of the diaphragm is well addressed. This is also very important for proper breathing. Hence, Tadasana is a complete package, must be practiced regularly. In the next episode, we will see more standing poses. Until then, happy practicing.